Anyway, we got Missy Hyatt on the line. Missy, how you doing today?
Hi, okay, how are you doing, Dave?
Hey, I'm doing really good. I think first thing we should talk about is update everyone on what you've been up to.
Oh, God, I'm writing a book about my life in wrestling.
I heard that. That's one of the reasons why we thought to bring you on.
Okay, well, you got to bring me on again like in August when it comes out because, so I can plug it some more,
Yeah, so what made you write a book, and what's your thoughts as far as everything's going?
Well, what made me write it was Mankind did so well, so that's what kind of opened it up for me. And then I have two writers that have been helping me, and TV Books that's owned by Lauren Michaels, they're the ones that bought it. And then Simon & Schuster is going to distribute it, I guess because, they've had such great success with, Mankind's books, so they're taking a chance on mine. Plus, mine's going to be a lot different in a way. So.
What are people going to think of this book?
What?
What are people going to think of this book?
They're going to be going, oh, my God, I cannot believe that she said that.
Okay.
Because I got a lot of good stories to tell.
I bet you do.
Yeah, I sure do.
I only know some of them.
And I am not leaving any stone unturned. Nobody gets off scot-free in this book.
Even Bischoff?
Oh, please. Of course he does. Everybody. I think Dave, you're even in there, too. I say something about the Wrestling Observer newsletter.
Okay. Well, as long as it's true, it's okay.
Yeah, everything's true. At least you get a plug. I know you'll be happy about that.
Yeah, oh, sure. I'm happy.
Okay.
Now, aside from that, you got married about, how many months ago? A year ago, maybe?
Over a year.
Over a year, okay.
Mm-hmm. Over a year ago, and I'm still in college. I have about a year left after this semester. As a matter of fact, I just got home, and I was hooking up my computer, and I have to write a 6-page paper for Shakespeare.
So how's college going?
It's going great. I love it.
Are you still doing independent wrestling or not at all? Because I haven't seen your name as much as even a year ago. Yeah,
I don't do that much because I work for a psychiatrist, and then I've been writing the book and going to school full time, so it's kind of hard. I mean, I have a show coming up in Red Lion, Pennsylvania on December the 5th, but I just really don't take that many independent bookings because it's on the weekends, and my weekends I need to study and I like to rest because my week's pretty full.
Do you miss not being around wrestling, or is it kind of cool not to be around it after being around for all the years?
Both. I mean, I see it and I miss it because I'm like, oh, wow, it was so fun. I had such a great time. But then I think to myself, oh, God, if I'd have to get on an airplane every day and if I had to go sit in an arena for 6 hours just to go out and work for 10 minutes, and that's how I feel on the weekends. You drive 5 hours to work 10 minutes and drive 5 hours home. That people don't understand that there's a lot more than goes to it than what they see on TV. It takes a lot of time.
What do you think? In a lot of ways, when we think back on this whole thing with the phenomenon of women in wrestling, I mean, when you came in, there were only, 2 or 3 probably in the whole country.
Yeah.
I mean, Sunshine was probably the one that really popularized it, and then you came in.
Sunshine started it all, yeah.
Right, Sunshine and Precious in Dallas was the big feud in 83, and then you were probably about her third feud, so probably a couple of years later, so you and Sunshine, and then you had a run, you went with Mid-South, and then later with WCW, and very briefly with WWF, and of course ECW, so you pretty much went everywhere, but you were one of the first ones, and now of course there's many, many women. In fact, on every independent show, there's probably about half a dozen of them, and on the national promotions, they're all over. I mean, what's your thoughts as far as the explosion of women in wrestling?
Well, I know one thing is that they don't have to pay them as much as they pay the guys, because it's still a very male-dominated sport. And another thing is that the promoters realize that sex and violence sells, so having a babe out there really helps. I mean, your demographics are guys mostly that watch this stuff. So.
Now, what, as far as, one of the things, and, you were involved in it, and it's a lot, I think it's worse now in many ways because the outfits are a lot more revealing than when you were going around as far as, what's the word I'm looking for, the measures that you have to take to look like that. I'm not saying for a photo shoot, but 300 days a year. A lot of people, I don't think they realize, no one's born like that, and no one stays like that without a lot of sacrifices, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, but you know what? A lot of the guys make sacrifices, too. I mean, dieting, working out, steroids. I mean, they make a lot of sacrifices, too. I think you're right, it's more for the women, but it's like that in everything, in modeling and, anything that you're going to be on television or any profession that you're going to use your looks. Basically, you've got to really take care of yourself, and you can't be, eating that extra cheeseburger, or if you really want fries or something like that. That's one thing I don't miss right there. Not that I've gotten fat or anything like that, because I haven't, but, knowing that I don't have to, worry about this or worry about that. Thank God I don't have a bikini contest or anything like that coming up, because I don't know how the girls do it.
Yeah, because they've got to do I remember when you did the bikini contest on a pay-per-view with Medusa, and I remember you pretty much weren't eating for about a week or two,
right? Oh my
right?
God, I passed out 3 days beforehand. We were doing the Clash of the Champions. I think we were in Charleston, and it was so funny because Magnum Missy was just standing there, and all of a sudden she was boop on the floor, because I was dieting and doing 2 hours aerobics every day, because I wasn't going to get in a bathing suit and have and look bad. If I'm going to be in a bathing suit on a pay-per-view or anything on television, I want to look good. Plus, I paid the guys off in the truck. I bought them a bottle of Crown Royal just to make sure they wouldn't shoot my behind, because, I thought it was kind of big. And so they didn't get any camera shots of that. But I know Medusa was training really hard, herself to do it. So the girls that have to do it now, I give them, they're a lot younger, though, so...
Some of them not. Deborah's not. And Deborah's older than you.
Well, yeah, but I don't know what's up with that. But anyway, you know what? And you know what makes me upset though, Dave? And I am so mad. And I want everyone to know I'm in the part of Brooklyn. I live in New York, but I'm in the little area of Brooklyn that Time Warner Cable. I do not get TNN.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I am so mad. I want my WWF because I don't watch WCW. So I want my WWF, and I'm having withdrawals and stuff. And Thursday night I don't get to see SmackDown because I have class.
You can tape it.
How? I don't get TNN. Oh,
you're on Channel 9.
Yeah,
on Channel 9 you can tape Thursday.
Yeah, I guess I should. Listen, my VCR is still flashing 12, okay? I don't even know how to tape.
You just put the tape in, you press play, you put it on a 6-hour tape, you got 6 hours to... Get 6 hours lead time. You can get it.
That's true. Put it on slow too. Okay. Yeah,
we apparently are having some telephone problems, so I don't know if you can call in or not. Our number is 1-877-392-3299. I'm told that it's difficult, if not impossible, to get in. So I'm told that if you want any questions asked to Missy Hyatt, you can email them in at davemeltzer@iata.com, so we can get some of those questions in a couple of minutes. But I got a lot of questions of my own. Missy, in the years that you were in wrestling, going back, who would you say were the most, I'd say the nicest people and the most not nice people, I guess is a nice way to put it, that you came in contact with?
Okay, well, as far as girls or guys?
Both. Anyway.
Okay. Well, the person that really helped me the most was probably Jim Ross, and I really, really liked working with him. I haven't talked to him in a long time. As a matter of fact, I tried to get in touch with him because I wanted him to do a quote for my book, but he never got back in touch with me. I guess he's a busy guy being vice president of the World Wrestling Federation. And people that I've kept in touch with is Barry Darso's wife, Teresa, and Jeannie Austin, Steve's ex-wife, and Kimona, and...
She's in WCW now.
Yeah, I know. She looks so good, too. See, she's young, though. She's young, and she's got a great body, so it's, easy for her. And Paulie, I guess, I still keep in touch with. People, there's only maybe a couple of people that I don't really like. One of them's Kevin Sullivan, and Bischoff, of course. And that's probably about it, I think. There's not really anybody that I dislike,
You made a lot of headlines many years ago when you sued WCW and Eric Bischoff. I don't know what you can, because I know there was a gag order in the settlement. I don't know what you can or want to say about it. What can you say about it right now?
Well, I can just say that the lawsuit was concluded in December of '96, and I'm really, really happy with the outcome of it. But I mean, anybody, what's so dumb is that they said, okay, you can't say anything about it, but the whole lawsuit is public record in Fulton County. Anybody can get it.
Yeah.
So.
What's,
it's not very good reading, but, you can get it if you want.
I mean, I remember reading it.
Oh, you read it?
Oh, yeah, when it first came out, of course.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure I wrote about it. I know I did.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. It was,
hold on a second.
It was a pretty big deal at the time.
Hi. I'm sorry, what? What? Dave, what?
Oh, no, it was a pretty big deal at the time, remember?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. It was. It was a big deal.
You were running
for me
around
too.
on the talk shows and everything like that.
Oh,
hey,
yes.
That reminds me of something.
What?
You've probably done more talk shows than anyone I know. Not just for wrestling, many times for wrestling, many times not. Of talk shows, what talk shows are works and what talk shows are shoots?
Oh, they're all a work, please. Let me tell you something.
Really?
They pay. Well, I'm an actress, so I get paid like $600 to do a talk show. So basically, if someone said, if you came up there and said that you had an alien baby, I mean, I'd do it. Pay me the money. I don't care. So I had an alien baby. I would do that. I mean, I was working on 57th Street at La Barbat, and a lot of the talk shows are taped around there. And what happens is once you do a talk show and you're really, really good on it, all the producers are friends, and they pass your name around. So that's why when I went on Maury Povich, they had me wear a wig because, I had just done, I think, like Sally Jesse a few weeks before. But they're all work.
They're all works.
I believe they are.
Well, you were on them. You would know.
Yeah, because they kind of tell you what to say. And then what they did when we did Ricky Lake, that was definitely a work.
The only one I was ever on of the major ones was Donahue, and that was not a work. I could tell. I mean, for sure that was not a work.
Oh, really? Why? Did you get beat up or something?
No. But I mean, I was in the middle of that. I know that wasn't a work. But I mean, as far as I've had friends besides you over the years that have been on like Sally Jesse and things like that. And
right.
I had one friend who was on Sally Jesse, and it was some like weird perversion. And I just go like, I didn't know you were like that. And he just goes, what? He goes, I was an actor. That was all a script.
Right. It's
Yeah.
the same thing. The Sally Jesse was the worst because I was the one about, like, I can use my body if I want or something like that. And I had some dominatrix sitting there beside me, and I thought she was going to, like, beat me up. And then during the break, she's like, hey, do you want to get into a fight? And I'm like, no. It just kind of scared me. She had all these piercings everywhere, and I was just like, God, this lady's wild. She's bigger than me, too, so I didn't want to do it.
When you first broke in, I mean, like, I just remember a conversation that we had. This is actually long after you broke in, now that I think about it. But it was we had a conversation, and I mean, it just reminded me of the total double standard in that when you were in WCW, they were asking questions about your private life and trying to get on your private life, kind of like, oh, you're as a representative of the company, yet any guy in that company could have done the exact same stuff you did and worse, and they would just be studs, right?
Exactly.
And I always thought, like, this is, it's like, who's, as long as you're not like, doing something that gets in the papers or something like that, what does it matter when you're off business?
It doesn't, but that's what they would say. I mean, I got written up in my folder one time because they said, oh, you were out doing like this, that, and the other. And I'm like, it's okay that Ric Flair goes to bars and he gets friggin' secretaries and nurses and flight attendants drunk and they end up taking off all their clothes and he exposes himself for everybody to see. I mean, I'm not the only one. Everybody. I mean, Ric Flair has this thing about dropping his pants in public places. So that's okay for the world champion to do it. But, if I go out and I'm hanging out with a bunch of friends or something like that and they're partying, I get yelled at for it. So, like you said, it's double standards. Maybe it's changed. I don't know. But
yeah, I don't know. I just remember like during the Bill Watts era and, you getting in trouble over things. And I was just thinking like, if like, I mean, the guys are doing the exact same thing. So what's the deal?
Even worse.
Yeah, a lot worse.
A lot worse.
A lot worse. What do you still follow hockey or not at all?
No, not really. I don't have time.
Yeah?
No, I don't have any time.
And you're not watching WCW at all now these days either?
Not really. I'll turn it on every once in a while and see it. Just if I think I'm going to see Kimona or something. But other than that, I really don't watch it. I like the WWF. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. There was we had Lance Russell on the show yesterday who told us to say hi to you.
Oh, good. Yeah, he's in my book. I talk about him too. He's good. I like him.
Oh, one of the best announcers. And we were talking about a thing. I don't know if you remember this, but it was when you were with Eddie Gilbert, and they were doing some quiz thing, and you kept giving away the answers, and I mean, it was like a shoot, like you were driving him crazy.
Now that you just said that, that reminded me of that. That was one of the funniest things we ever did, because I kept giving away the answers. I would just say them out of the, say them out of the blue, and he's like, Missy, that's the wrong one. I wish I had some of that stuff on tape, and then when me and Lawler did the Made for the Day, and that was some of the funniest television stuff, and I took it to one of those meet and greet things when fans have a dinner with you, and we played the tape there, and somehow somebody stole it or something, and I don't have the tape of it. But that was some of the best TV when we were there in Memphis, because we just got to do whatever we wanted. We took over and did the whole NWO gimmick when we did it. NWO stole that from us. Because we took over the whole show. It was so fun. And Lance just played off of everybody so good.
What are your thoughts going back? Like, on Eddie Gilbert. You were married to him for many years, and Eddie had an untimely demise at a very young age, and you knew him real well. And, Eddie was like a total student of wrestling. A lot of people, on yesterday's show, with Lance on, there was a couple of mentions of Eddie Gilbert, from different people who called in remembering angles Eddie did, and also regarding, the fact that, how bad, Eddie, and it would have been before you met. Eddie had already suffered the broken neck in the car accident before you met, and how much do you think that affected him, afterwards?
Well, I think what happened is not just the broken neck in the car accident, but people forgot that when the accident happened, the steering wheel crushed his heart, and half of his heart was paralyzed, and they didn't think he was going to make it, not from the broken neck, but from his heart. So when I heard that he died of the heart attack, that just, I didn't think anything suspicious or anything like that. I thought it was that. Plus, I think he had high blood pressure, because I used to see him when people wouldn't do the right thing, and he'd be screaming at the wrestlers in the back, or he's doing the show, how his face would turn red and he'd start sweating. It was just like a cartoon character. So, that was a really, really awful and untimely thing, because somebody that has that much talent and is so smart. And I honestly believe if you would ever had the chance to book like WCW and gotten free reign, any place, he could turn anything around. He was just that smart. And I think Paul Lee steals a lot of his stuff, which is good.
Yeah. What's your thoughts as far as, you were in WCW on and off for many, many years, and it was one of these companies that had, and as a company, WCW probably had more potential being part of the time, TBS empire and then later Time Warner of any company in history. And it never, it had its 2-year run where it was pretty hot, but overall, it never came close to what it should have been, and now it's in like a horrible state. Being there, and Eddie was booking for a while there, and he had his troubles there.
He was on the booking committee.
On the committee, that's right.
And which is horrible, because, everybody goes, oh, your idea's great, and then you walk out of the room and then people start backstabbing you because you're jealous. That didn't work. If he would have had the chance to book it himself, or just like maybe him and Dusty, they could have done some awesome TV, and it would have turned out good. They just don't have any direction, I think. I think there's too many chefs cooking. Is that it? Is that the term, I guess?
Too many chefs.
Too many chefs in the kitchen, because, they start something, they don't finish it up. They start an angle and there's no blow off, there's nothing to it. That's the only thing I can say. They need to sit down and really plan. The WWF does. They've got great storylines.
What are your thoughts as far as when you were there, as far as storylines that were with you that they just dropped in the middle or
they did all the
around?
time, like the thing with Ric Flair. Then they had me go work with the Nasty Boys, which made absolutely no sense at all. I just came out with them. They don't think things through. They don't think of a reason of why. And they just kind of, okay, this is a good idea. We'll just do this. I liked announcing. I didn't like it when I stopped announcing. So.
Was there anything that they ever did that to you just said no? That's too much.
No.
Really?
Not really. No. I remember one time. This is a good story. One time, I got asked to do a hair match in the UWF.
They wanted to shave your head?
Yeah.
I think I remember this sort of.
Yeah, Ken Mantell came up to me and he's laughing. He's trying to do it, trying to work me, trying to get me to do this match and blah 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 blah. And then I told him what the price would be, and then he never bugged me again. I gave him like some outlandish kind of money that I go, yeah, you could shave my head. I don't care, but you're going to have to give me X amount of dollars. And then they never said anything. Now, probably with pay-per-view and stuff like that, they would have probably said yes to me, and then I would be walking around like with the friggin' no hair. But other than that, I mean, they threw me in the water trough. I didn't know that was going to happen. I probably would have said no to that, but I doubt it.
That thing with Abdullah the Butcher, right?
Yeah, I doubt I would have said no. I mean, I didn't care. They didn't really do that many bad things or anything.
Explain your, original start in wrestling, how you first got in Dallas.
Well, I was dating John Tatum at the time, and we had moved out there. He was working in Charlotte, and we moved out there, and David Manning saw me. I think we were up in Lawton, Oklahoma or something. He's like, so do you want to be a manager? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I didn't know. And the next thing I know, we were sitting in Fritz's office trying to come up with a name for me. And they liked my real name. So that's how it kind of started, and they came up with that. But I remember sitting around Fritz's dingy old office, and I was kind of born that day. And I think it all stemmed because Sunshine, was a baby face, and they needed a heel to work with her, and she really didn't have a heel to work with her. And they just saw me, and they're like, oh, okay, we'll just, we'll get this girl. Plus, it was good for Johnny because it gave Johnny a push.
Yeah,
he was just, working middle of the card, first match or second match. And, I started working with him, and within a couple of months, we're semi-main event at Reunion Arena. So it really helped him and gave him a push.
You and Elizabeth were really the ones that, Sunshine locally, but nationally, it was you and Elizabeth were the ones in the 80s, and everyone, then all of a sudden, it just blossomed. I don't know if that's the right word. Last 3 years, they're everywhere.
I know, I can't believe it. And I don't understand, WCW, they have so many come and go. They just, they hire actors.
They don't develop a personality for any of them.
Yeah, I know, they don't give them a chance.
Yeah.
Well,
and then they try to have them
that good anyway, but other than that.
Then they made a mistake also of trying to have too many of them wrestle.
Yeah, I know. I don't think girls look good wrestling. Cat fighting's okay, but I don't really think they look good wrestling, except maybe Lita. She does, some awesome moves. But other than that, then they have that blonde Trish girl running around. She just doesn't look like a wrestler. She's just not,
She's not.
Yeah, she's not. And then it's kind of don't do something that you don't know what you're doing, even if you're kind of trained. She just doesn't look like it. And then, I don't know, to me it just looks... I don't know. I don't like to see girls wrestle, but, if girls want to roll around and cat fight, I'm like, ooh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And if they end up taking some, great bumps in the meantime, that's even better.
I think if they know what they're doing and they're good at it, but when they're thrown in there, they're with no experience. It's like a guy with no experience, like a guy who doesn't know how to wrestle out there wrestling on national TV. That's going to look bad
Let me
too.
tell you what the worst thing was. I had to wrestle Kimona in a cage match, and let me tell you, I know she's learning how to work, and she can work better, but let me tell you, this poor little thing. She doesn't weigh but maybe 90-something pounds, and I'm like, come on, work with me. And so you got two green people in there trying to do a match. It was maybe 6 minutes. And that was it. But the fans didn't want to see that. They just wanted to see us roll around and hoping that a breast or something would pop out.
Yeah.
That's all they really cared about. I don't know about watching ladies wrestle. I don't know. To me, it just doesn't look feminine. Oh, and catfight does. I don't know. I have no logic in that. So
there's a couple things I want to bring up. Our phones coming in are not working, but we can call out. So what Mike, our producer, said that he would do is that if you email in a phone number, he will call you and get you on the show. So if you want to be on the show and talk to Missy, you can do it even though you can't call in. We have a lot of emails already, and actually this question is being asked a couple of times. It was asked to me many times, actually. There's two questions about your career that I get asked the most, and we'll get to them right away.
Okay.
The first one is, explain the chronology of in Mid-South Wrestling of your angle with Eddie Gilbert and John Tatum and the reality of what was going on with Eddie Gilbert and John Tatum and you as that angle was going on.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. Well, we did the merger of Hot Stuff and Hyatt International, and then Eddie and I started I never really talked to him before that, but then we started hanging out and we were doing the interviews like up at the barn and stuff like that. And that's when we'd sit around on the couch and read The Observer when you first started. I mean, I don't know if you'd first been out a couple of years or something.
About 2 years.
Yeah, about 2 years. But this is when you used to give all the good dirt. It was like the National Enquirer of the wrestling business. I mean, I would find out if you were getting fired. You'd find out in the dirt sheet, in your sheet, before people would know. I mean, and who was sleeping with who. I mean, it was like the coolest. So we'd sit around and we'd read that, and everybody would read it, and they probably don't want to admit that they were reading it, but they did.
Well, everyone in Mid-South in those days did.
Yeah, I mean, it was the best.
Yeah.
So anyway, not that it's good now, I'm serious, but anyway. So, I don't know what happened. It was just one night, we were all in Tulsa, and one night, Eddie he was out and he was drinking or something like that, and he came to the hotel. He came to our room, but John wasn't there, and he had passed out, and I had to get him to go back to his room. And like the next day, I kept telling him, "Oh, we fooled around, and I was joking with him. And he was like, "Oh no, we didn't, did we?" And I go, "Hey, listen, if we would have, you would have remembered, buddy, okay?" And that's how it kind of started. And then when we started seeing each other, me and John broke up, and we were still doing the Hot Stuff and Hyatt thing, but then John was acting, kind of mean towards me because, we had broken up and he didn't like the whole idea. So I went to Ken Mantell and I said, "Ken, you got to break us. I don't want to work with John anymore." And he goes, "Well, you can't work with Eddie. Eddie's more of a manager." And I said, "Well, put me with anybody, somebody. Let's do something." So then they promised me, "Okay, we'll break you guys up." So then we did the thing in the ring that Hot Stuff and Hyatt broke up, and I went with John. And they tried to do that just to get me to go work with them so I wouldn't be around Eddie or something. But then I kept bugging them. So they said, okay. So like the 2 weeks later, or like maybe a month later, they said, okay. So they started letting Eddie come out to the ring and woo me, with the candies and then the chocolate each week and stuff like that. So it was kind of parallel going on at the same time. But I was really with Eddie. But for like about 3 weeks or maybe a month, we couldn't be seen together, which was kind of hard,
Oh, in those days, because of the whole thing where you had to,
Yeah, I had to choose between the two, so I had to go with John and Jack and leave Sting and Steiner and Eddie in the ring. And then Eddie woos me back, and then I go with Eddie, and then I hit John with the purse and leave with Eddie. But then they only had a couple of matches because I think Ken Mantell was afraid to book them together.
Yeah,
scared that John might try to do something, shoot on him or something.
Yeah. Nothing ever happened, though. But they were afraid of it, though.
Yeah, they were really afraid of it. I mean, it was like probably the only angle in TV that was real.
What would, looking back, Mid-South Wrestling, Watts' territory, people have like romantic views and horrible views of it going back. You probably have a little bit of both, between the travel and also the education, it's like a double-edged sword. Well, looking back, those years working for Watts, what were your thoughts of that period, not the WCW period?
Oh, gosh. It was exciting and it was fun because going from world class to going up there, we went from, pretty good arenas, but to bigger arenas and a lot more people, and it seemed like a big step up. And the TV was a lot more exciting and things like that, but nothing beats my first year in world class. If I really look back on it. So, and there was a lot of traveling, too. My God, there was so much traveling. The guys that have started now do not know how good they have it. Any of the boys, I sound like an old-timer now, and I used to, make fun of the people that go, "Oh, back in my day, it was like this." Now I sound like those kind of people. But I'm serious. They don't really realize how easy they had it. If we had a 250-mile trip there and back, like a 500-mile trip in one day, that was like a night off. People don't realize how all the traveling that we did then.
And you didn't have days off hardly at all.
No.
Mid-South,
and
it was 6 nights a week.
Yeah, let me tell you, every 2 weeks you'd maybe get a day off. And that day you have to go to the cleaners, you got to, go to the drugstore, go to the grocery store, go do all the icky stuff, go to the bank. You got to go do all the stuff, so you never really had a day off.
And the other thing also is on Sundays and a lot of Saturdays you were doing double shots.
Oh, yeah, and on Christmas, that's fun, Christmas and New Year's, especially Christmas in Louisiana, doing a double shot on Christmas, and the only thing that's open is a Waffle House to eat at. It's not fun.
Now, shortly after that, you were in the WWF very briefly. What looking back, what's your thoughts on that period where they were going to make you Roddy Piper with Missy's Manor, and it just didn't work out?
You know what? I wish I would have gone there a few years later after I had some more experience of talking with a microphone and talking on television, because I was so green. And I have those tapes, and I look back on them, and I just laugh because I am so horrible. I mean, I am so bad. One of the first interviews I did, I asked Jimmy Hart a question, him and Adrian Street, the late Adrian Street, and I asked him a question.
You mean Adrian Adonis, right?
Adrian Adonis, Adrian Adonis, I'm sorry. And
Adrian Street's still among the living.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, sorry. Oops, now there's going to be a rumor that I'm starting a rumor that he's dead or something. No,
yeah.
But, so I asked Adrian Adonis a question, and I don't even hand him the microphone for him to respond. I mean, that's how bad I was, okay? I mean, I was green. I've been in the business like a year maybe, or over a year and a half. And I never, I did interviews in UWF and WCW, but never like holding the microphones. I had no clue what I was doing. So I was really green, and it wasn't the right time.
Mm-hmm. And you never really had another chance to go back there, did you?
Well, kind of. I was going to go back and work WrestleMania 10, and then I was hoping maybe something could have came out of that. I was going to come out and do this, sing Happy Birthday like Marilyn Monroe in the white dress because it was here at Madison Square Gardens. But then I filed a lawsuit against WCW. So when I called up there to, talk to somebody, they're like, Missy who?
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
That was that period where that was the period where everyone in wrestling was scared to death of you.
I know. Well, they still are. I have this bad reputation of being so hard to work with and to deal with and this, that, and the other. But, if you ask anybody that's actually worked with me, like maybe Ken Resnick when I worked in the AWF, he's like, I don't know where you got that reputation. You will go out of your way to work and do things and, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's being a woman. I don't know. I can't keep blaming my gender on that. But I don't know. Maybe I just pissed off the wrong people or something. I don't know.
What were your thoughts when Watts sold to Crockett and about what transpired over the next year or so with working for Crockett, where a lot of the guys from Mid-South were, it was one of those promotional things where the new guys just never really got a fair shake. I mean, Sting ended up being a star out of this, but almost everybody else
but
got lost in the shuffle.
Sting should have gone a lot farther. Sting could have been the next Hulk Hogan.
We all thought that in 88 that he would.
What?
Yeah, we all thought in 88. I remember in 88 we all thought he was going to be the next big thing.
Yeah, but they never used him right. There's a classic example right there of a guy not being used or pushed to his full potential. Because he could have been. He could have been the next great thing, and he wasn't. The only thing I remember is that I was just so happy when I was under contract to Watts, and I wanted to go to the WWF. Watts wouldn't let me out of the contract, so I was just happy when Crockett bought the place because he said you could get out of your contract. And then after I left WWF and had to go back there and beg for my job back, wasn't that much fun. But he gave me a job back there. But it was kind of the guys in the UWF felt like they were the stepchildren because the guys in the NWA at the time were getting to ride on private jets and they were treated a lot better. And then suddenly, our titles don't really mean anything, and they just instead of keeping it two separate companies, he absorbed it into one. And he had everyone thinking that it was going to be two separate companies.
And there was going to be a promotion versus promotion angle down the road, which never really got off the ground at all.
Yeah, they never really did. And he could have done that, and it would have been so good. They never did that.
Yeah. We'll talk to Dusty about that sometime.
Yeah.
We're going to have Dusty on the show really on the 29th, which would be pretty interesting.
Well, you know what? When you see Dusty, will you please give him my phone number too? Because I want him. He's one of the best guys. I mean, I love him to death, and he always did stuff with me and gave me a chance, even when other people were like, especially Watts, when Watts came into WCW, like, don't use her, blah blah blah. But Dusty always is good to me, and I want him to do a quote for my book for the back cover. Because we worked together for so long. So when you talk to him, please give him my phone number.
Okay.
Thank
we'll
you.
do that. I also want to mention, we just did our UFC commercial, which remember Paul Varlins?
Yeah. Listen, Taz should be nice to me. Taz should be my friend, because the only reason why Paul Varlins even did that, tapped out to Taz, because Paul Varlins is like 3 times the size of Taz. I mean, I'm bigger than Taz, but other than that, Paul Barlins tapped out to him only because I was, like, really, really nice to him. And I did that for Paul E., because Paul E. was like, Missy, you got to go be nice to the big goof. He's got a crush on you. So, I mean, things I do for this business, for the fans. My body was sacrificed to the good of this business.
Nobody knows that story.
No, nobody knows this story. I mean, my body was sacrificed for the good of this business, for the fans, and I just get no respect. And Taz is not even nice to me. He's like the meanest person on earth. Because that guy, he didn't want to do it. And I mean, I was on the phone with him, I was with him, I was talking to him, blah, 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 blah.
Well, he didn't really know.
Nice, so he would do it.
He didn't really know what he was getting into.
No, I know. Why do you think Paul sent me in there?
Yeah.
He didn't know what hit him. Next thing he knows, he's tapping out to a midget. 6'6", tapping out to a midget. Ah, Missy got there. Missy convinced him to do it. See, I don't get any of the recognition that I should.
Oh my God.
No, but yeah. What were you going to say about the UFC? I'm sorry, we got off on that.
No. We were right before during the commercial breaks, they did a commercial for tonight's UFC, and it just reminded me of Paul Barlins.
Remember when I was out in San Francisco doing that autograph session and he came there? You remember?
That's exactly why I remember.
Me around like a puppy dog.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And I was like looking at you like, what is that with this guy?
Yeah.
Poor thing.
Yeah, with what was that guy's name? Was it Camacho? Hector Camacho was there?
Oh yeah, Hector Macho Camacho.
Yeah.
Right? Is that right? And
yeah.
Jason Giambi,
who became a big-time baseball star.
I know.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
Oh. So now, did you ever like get a chance to travel overseas as far as going on any overseas? For World Class.
Yeah, for WCW. I mean, not WCW. What am I talking about? World Class.
For Von Erich. For the Von Erich. Right. What was that like?
It was awesome. It was so cool. I mean, they sold out the same like huge soccer stadium like 10 nights in a row, and then it was like in Haifa, and then the last night we were in Tel Aviv in like a big stadium. But it was awesome. It was amazing just going over there. I mean, and plus this was back then. This was like in the middle of the 80s, and they really didn't have television on over there. They had movies, but the only American television that they got was like NBA basketball and the Von Erichs wrestling. So one of the guys told me, I think they either lived in Lebanon. I think it was Lebanon at the time. He said on Friday nights you could bomb the city because they always had problems with the lighting and I guess the power going out. People would take the batteries out of their car and hook them up to make sure their TVs wouldn't go out so they could watch the Von Erichs wrestling. And they said everybody was in their house on Friday nights at 8 o'clock. You could bomb the city because no one was on the streets. They were all watching wrestling.
And I asked you about the Von Erichs and everything. You were there I guess it was like right after their heyday, but there was still a real big deal when you were first breaking in Dallas wrestling. It was a situation kind of similar to what WWF kind of is maybe right now, but only on a regional basis, where it was like, the real in thing with teenagers going to the matches, and the Von Erichs were like, idols, and women would go to the matches, and it was kind of an atmosphere that wasn't duplicated that many different periods in wrestling.
No, not at all. I mean, this family, I think David was so smart, and Kerry had the looks and the body, and the father built the company from, from really basically nothing, I don't think, and to like a big empire. I mean, Fritz was a really smart man. I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. People always say, I think it's just tragedy, that the whole thing that happened in his family was there's only one left.
Yeah. Kevin. They were like you go 1983, 84, they were the future of wrestling. It just didn't pan out.
I know.
Maybe Kerry Von Erich, he's probably one of the 3-4 biggest stars in the business with Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, and probably right with them.
Oh, definitely. Do you know the guy that cuts my hair? He's from Israel, and we were just a month or so ago we were talking about that, and I said something about wrestling, and the first thing out of his mouth was the Von Erichs, because that's what he grew up watching. You know,
Oh,
over in Israel was the Von Erichs, you know, and then I said, oh, yeah, I'm in wrestling. And so oh, my God, what about Kerry Von Erich? And you know, so, I mean, that's all. I mean, you know, he didn't ask about Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know, he's asked about Kerry Von Erich. I mean, I don't know. I doubt he watches wrestling now, but I'm just saying, growing up, those were the biggest stars.
Yeah. This is from Sean Lockhart, who said, what are your thoughts of Max Payne and Mick Foley? I remember they did an interview about your lawsuit. Mick Foley, in many ways, that might have been the beginning of the end of his WCW tenure.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. What did he say?
I just remember this interview where he just goes, you know, like, hey, Missy, you know, like maybe something like get as much of Ted's money as you can, or I'm rooting for you, which was not the political. That was not the political thing to be saying when you were under contract to WCW at that point in time.
No, it wasn't. But you know what? It's kind of good because look how his life turned out. And look where he is at today.
You know, if he had stayed in WCW, he'd have been beaten up just as bad, if not worse.
I know. And he would have
anywhere near the money.
Exactly. And his body, he'd probably still be taking those crazy bumps and probably not being able to, you know, sleep at night or anything else. So he's really lucky. And his book was awesome, too.
Yeah, it was.
To say that.
Yeah, that opened the door for everyone.
And speaking of everyone. And speaking of Max Payne and Mick Foley, well, when we had to work against them and they had to kiss me, that was gross. But other than that, they're good guys.
Matt, whatever happened to Max Payne?
I don't know, but that whole thing got me in trouble because I remember when I went and told, I forget who the boss was at the time, it was like over Bischoff's head, and he was asking me.
Was it Schiller?
No,
was it Schiller? Bob Dew?
Yeah, Bob Dew, I think. That idiot. And so I remember him asking me, how do you think the Clash went? And I said, well, I mean, honestly, I go, you know, they were in a non-title match, and on the replay, they should have showed, because I guess our match went over or something, they had to cut, they should have shown on the replay them getting the count after the bell rang instead of the two big ugly guys kissing the blonde girl. I said that would sell more tickets to the people thinking that these two guys can beat the guys in a non-title match, you know, for the pay-per-view.
Right.
And I think I got in trouble for that because I expressed that I, you know, I was smart. It made sense.
Yeah. Eddie Gilbert taught you too much.
Yeah, I know. That's how I got in trouble, you know.
He taught you enough to get in trouble.
You know what? Oh, that's it. Oh, my God, the girl has logic. Oh, we must get rid of her. She's smart.
I want to make mention of this as far as current wrestling. This is on yesterday's WCW show. The Cat did not win the commissionership. It was the ring announcer announced in German that the match was for the commissionership, but he wasn't supposed to do that. He did it on his own, and apparently that's where the whole problem is, and that's where the misunderstanding comes in. So the Cat didn't win the commissionership, and I don't know about the tag team titles. I guess we'll find out Monday when we watch the TV. I guess the Boogie Nights have them. I don't know. Typical WCW. What can I say? What in the last 3 years or so in wrestling really, especially the last 2 years where wrestling really hit big, I mean, what were your thoughts having been around it for so many years and, you know, you've been through some ups and down periods where it really, with Steve Austin and everything, just kind of like, you know, mushroomed?
Right. What have I liked in the last few years? Or
no, I mean, what did you think when all of a sudden this thing got, you know, so big and Vince got, like, so ridiculously rich?
Yeah, I was like, God, where's my... I want some money. No, I just was thinking it was amazing. I was watching and I was thinking how he changes with the times. You know, wrestling always has like a period and then the down period, and I think it's because they keep doing the same thing over and over, but then the times change, and then they finally figure out, we got to keep up with the times. And now they're doing all that soap opera stuff that I love, and I don't get to watch and I'm so depressed about, but I thought it was cool. I mean, I love wrestling. I'm not bitter about it or anything like that at all. I mean, it made me a great living for a long, long, long time. So, you know, I just wish that there was more places for people to work.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
and get the training because, you know, these guys, just going to a wrestling school doesn't prepare you to go out there and work in front, you know, and be good. It doesn't prepare you. That takes a long time to do that. Even if you've got natural talent. Like Buck Bagwell, he had natural talent, but it still took him a while before you can get really good. And it's a shame because now they don't give you a chance. If you're not over in 2 weeks, they find somebody else.
Now you knew him before he was a wrestler, right? Were you involved in getting him into wrestling?
I got him into the wrestling business. Okay. I'm the one that realized Buff was the stuff. Okay. I know. When I went to go move into an apartment complex, he was washing his car. And I told the lady, I was like, I don't care what apartment I want, but I want the one right beside his. So I ended up moving in right beside of him, and we became friends. He had a girlfriend at the time, so there's nothing going on, but we became friends. And then I called Joe Pedicino and Bonnie Blackstone, and I asked them, who's training wrestlers, because this is before, wrestling schools and stuff like that. So then I called the guy up, and I kind of knew who he was, and I was like, look, I'm going to send somebody down to you, but don't work him on the price, and we want to charge him like $10,000 or some crazy amount of money. So then Mark went down there, and he started working that Georgia area, and then he went to Global, and I took his tape to Jim Barnett at WCW, and they gave him a tryout, and they hired him. So
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that whole period and everything.
He looks great now.
Yeah, he's got mega heat.
Oh, does he? Oh, yeah, because he gets in fights all the time.
Well, not so much that, but he did like an interview where he kind of like, there's like different cliques, and one of the things with most of the guys in WCW, as you probably well know, is a lot of them think that they don't get a fair shot, and he's one of the people who thinks that, but he's friends with the guys who've been there for a long time, like Luger and Sting and everything, and so he was just kind of saying like, he kind of talked about himself as A talent, and he mentioned Hugh Morris or General Rection as C talent, and it got a lot of heat by mentioning the guy as C talent because he works hard too, you know.
Yeah.
So they're actually trying to do an angle around that, but I don't know. It was one of those things where how sometimes on TV they'll do something so inside on the interview that nobody gets it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's what they did on Thursday or Wednesday on Thunder. Is they did an interview where they were like kind of talking about that interview, but they didn't want to specifically reference it, so they kind of beat around the bush, and it ended up with this thing where, like, for a couple of thousand people who knew what he was talking about, they would get it, and like everybody else watching on TV going, what are him and Mike Tenay talking about?
Yeah, I know. See, I don't understand why they do that. Dave, they do a lot of this stuff just for your benefit. I'm serious.
Well, I remember.
They want to stump the Meltzer guy. They want to stump the Observer guy. Oh, they do. I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever told you that, but it's like that you would hear them going, yeah, well, we're going to do a swerve because the guys in the sheets already. Because I remember one time they go, hey, that Meltzer reported so-and-so got the belt, so we're not going to give it to him tonight. Yeah. So, I mean, it's crazy they do that stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, so the 5,000 or 10,000 people that read that, this is back before the computers and stuff, you're going to change it because of that? What about the other,
millions.
100,000, millions of people or whatever watching, so.
That's what I used to say. And the other thing is like, when they would do the things where they would swerve like that, all it did was it made their product not make sense.
I know, exactly.
Because, what we were looking for was the logical conclusion of the angle, and they would go, what we'll do is we'll swerve them. And it's sort of like, so then the rest of these people are going like, well, we wanted to see these two guys meet. We've been building up this feud for months, so now we're going to make them a tag team without ever even having the match.
Right,
it's
I know.
What did that accomplish?
They do that all the time. That's why, I guess the Bagwell thing came off like that, too. It's the same thing with what Kevin Nash is going out there talking all kinds of stuff. And the only reason why I know that is because I read in your sheet. I don't know what all that makes sense.
Oh, well, he's like always talking about Scott Hall, which, and if the company, and I guess they never did bring Scott Hall back because they just fired him. And they spent months, they did the greatest job of building up to Scott Hall's return. He would have gotten a huge pop coming back, but then they fired him. And there's reasons why they fired him. But the thing is, if they were going to fire him and they weren't going to bring him back, they should have never, built up his return so big.
Right, because
and it wasn't even
going, where is he?
Yeah, so everyone's like, the return of Scott Hall is like the next big thing in WCW, except that, he's not coming back.
Right.
Which is, again, that's one of the many problems with WCW. We just
don't have enough hours to sit here and bag on them and tell them all the problems that they have, Dave. That's
hopefully they'll turn it around, although I don't know when. I hope it's soon, because for their own sake, because it's a tough business right now. Vince got the thing so up that nobody can compete with him, and that's the reality of what's happening in wrestling in the last 2 years, I think.
I know.
He's got that TV production and he's got a great group of wrestlers, and the storylines aren't as strong now as they were a couple of months ago, but you compare them to everybody else, and they're still stronger than what anybody else has.
Oh well, yeah, definitely.
He's got the money. Everyone wants to be there. They're all excited. You never got to go to Japan, did you?
Nope.
Wow. All that
I
time.
wish I would have. But I didn't know how to wrestle, so they didn't really use girls over there unless you know how to wrestle.
They do a little bit now, but not a lot. But it's still in its infancy there. Like when it comes to the women, they're probably about 1985 right now. They've got the ballets and the ballet feuds, but it's pretty bad, like compared to like in the United States. I mean, they've advanced it a lot more and done a lot more storylines with it.
Right.
You wanted to go there, didn't you?
Yeah, I always have.
Yeah.
I thought it would be the coolest thing. I always wanted to go, and I never got a chance to go.
Were there ever any things that you had an opportunity to do stemming from wrestling that, like, maybe WCW wouldn't allow you to do? As far as, I don't know, outside of wrestling? Like, I don't know if it's acting or anything like that, or no?
No. No, I wish. No, not really. I was going to do Playboy, and then they said no.
You were too many years too early, because everybody did it later.
I know. See,
yeah. And made money, too.
Made money, too. They were going to give me some good money, though, back then. I mean, it's probably not as much as what, I don't know, it was pretty good dough. I mean, it's a lot more than what I was getting paid at WCW, let me put it like that. And then they took it to the board, and they said no, I couldn't do it. And it was just going to be topless, too.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't even going to be like, doing anything. But that was probably the only thing. And then when they wanted me to be a tag team with the Nasty Boys, I thought it would be, I voiced my opinion that I thought I should go with the Hollywood Blondes, which would be Pillman and Steve Austin. And they didn't put me with them. And they ended up taking the belts off them and giving them to the Nasty Boys.
That was really weird, that Pillman and Austin thing.
I know, but it was good. It was a good team.
No, they were great, and then they broke. That was one of the most mystifying things, because it was during a down period, and it was one of the few things that was really clicking. Mm-hmm. And then they broke them up. And I mean, Pillman, like, for the next 2 years, pretty much did nothing until he came up with that gimmick to save his career, and ended up, ended up making himself a celebrity out of it. But it was just, him and Austin really had a lot of chemistry, tremendous chemistry together.
They did.
Really.
They had tremendous chemistry together, and they kind of like did that all on their own. There was no help from anybody. There was nobody behind them pushing them. I mean, they kind of did that on their own. And I thought for sure, they would put me with the Hollywood Blondes, but they didn't. They put me with the Nasty Boys.
This is from someone named Ron B., who says, please, please, please ask Missy this. I don't know what it means, so if I get into trouble, it's out of ignorance. It just says, Missy, how is cat stuff lately, and do you want a Diet Coke? I don't know what any of it means.
Tell him cat stuff is the hottest. And as a matter of fact, I'm drinking a Diet Coke right now, but the next time I see him, I want a really good cold one.
Oh, okay. And what are your thoughts of Stephanie McMahon?
You know what? When she first came out, I'm thinking, oh, she's so dowdy. She wears the ugliest shoes. I mean, if my daddy had all those millions of dollars, I'd be dressing in nothing but friggin' Versace and Moschino. I mean, I'd be tearing up Fifth Avenue. But I thought she was a horrible actress. But now she's gotten really good. She's a great bad girl. And it just goes to show, just because you grew up in a wrestling family doesn't mean you automatically have talent. She's a lot better than Shane.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
Really? I don't think so, but a lot of people have said that.
Oh yeah, I think she's great. She's a great bad girl. Very great bad girl.
I think Shane, considering he's the son of the promoter, I think he's phenomenal. Because there's so many. I mean, how many?
Yeah, but come on. If he wasn't the son of the promoter, he wouldn't have been on there that long.
No, you're right. But how many sons of the promoters have you seen that especially with Shane, he's not even really a trained wrestler, but when he goes in the ring, he's a tremendous wrestler for a guy who's not a wrestler.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. He takes some great bumps, but look at Vince.
Well,
Vince does some crazy stuff, too.
Well, Vince's stuff's a lot more careful than Shane's.
Yeah, Vince is a lot older, too, so.
He's a lot older. I give Vince credit for considering, with all that money, he didn't need to cut his forehead like he did on those matches.
Yeah, didn't he come off like the top of the cage or something down on the table?
Yeah.
What is he thinking? Crazy.
It was padded, but underneath. But you know what though? That was like, I would never do that.
I would never do that, too. They come to me, I'd be like, I don't think so. I'd be like,
he's in his 50s, and he doesn't need to do it.
I know, exactly. He doesn't need to do it, and he does it. He's sacrificing his body for the business, for the fans out there.
Yeah, I don't think he would do. I don't think he would do that one again. Yeah, maybe he would.
I don't know, but I think Stephanie's really good. I think she plays a great bad girl. She's such a good snot. I mean, she's really, really good. I mean, that whole thing when they did the thing about Hunter marrying her, and I thought that was the funniest stuff. The Hunter marriage, and then what's his name, Kurt Angle, going, I just want to be friends. Why can't I just be friends? And then he's like scamming on her. Really, that was some great stuff.
You know, the Kurt Angle stuff was great, but I'll tell you what, though. They had it great for about 6-7 months, and then when it came time to pull the trigger, they totally blew it.
Well, I missed that because I don't get to see it.
Oh, yeah, because you haven't seen the show. I mean, they had that whole thing built up so well, and then when the big payoff, like they had one match on a pay-per-view that was, I mean, it wasn't like it was bad, but it was disappointing, and then it was like they just backed right out of it. And I mean, the whole key is that, she had to ditch Hunter, or Hunter had to ditch her, one or the other. And then Hunter.
Well, who is she with now?
Well, she hasn't been on TV in the last week to 10 days.
Oh, okay. Who is she walking out to the ring with?
She hasn't been on. She was okay. The deal was that she was married to Hunter, but she had a business relationship with Angle. So, and Angle wasn't even really trying to scam on her anymore. Like they did a deal.
Right. That's some sneaky business right there. Okay, monkey business.
But see, that's why Helmsley was turning into such a tremendous babyface. Because every guy probably knew this idea of this guy trying to pretend to be the friend of their girlfriends who deep down's trying to get her in the sack, you know what I mean?
Right. That's why I loved it.
It was like a tremendous thing that everybody could relate to, but then they blew it at the end because it ended up where it just went nowhere. You know what I mean? The thing they needed to do, she needed to double-cross Hunter, or Hunter needed to kick her if Hunter had, like dumped her in a very dramatic way.
The curb, oh my God, he would have been the biggest babyface.
The biggest babyface. Or if she would have dumped him, it would have kind of hurt him, but she would have been the greatest heel in the world, and so would an Angle with her would have been a tremendous heel, and there would have been different kind of heat. Hunter trying to get revenge. Either one would have been effective, and they ended up doing neither. And I think that's where everyone's kind of disappointed. Now it's just kind of muddled, and
well, didn't you say Stephanie's writing some of the stuff now?
Yeah, Stephanie's writing a lot. She's one of the key writers on the show.
See, that's awesome because you know what I said this years ago. I said they'll never let a woman write any of the stuff. But, I mean, she's the owner's daughter, so I guess she's got kind of an end to write the stuff. But, I mean, if she's not any good, Vince is not going to let her keep doing it. So she's got to, be doing something good.
No, it's not like it's bad. The problem is that, like, she's the only one of the writing staff that really has wrestling knowledge. I mean, it's like they hire people that are like comedy writers or TV show writers, and they bring them in. And like writing a TV show and writing professional wrestling are two entirely different things, but they'll get these guys that are TV writers from real shows like Conan O'Brien, and then they'll have like one wrestling person, which is Stephanie's role, to kind of formulate it and make it like make sense in wrestling. So, they really don't have.
That doesn't make sense. Why don't they? I don't know why they do that. When they have Jim Ross up there and they have, that's stupid.
I mean, Vince, Vince is overseeing, and I'm sure Ross has input, but like the thing is, and this is one of the things that's going to be a big challenge for them next year, and it already is a challenge now, is that all those key people are so overworked with, Vince is trying to start his own football league now.
Oh, I know.
I mean, it's going to be quite an undertaking.
Now, is Jesse Ventura really going to be doing the announcing?
Yeah, Jesse's going to be the announcer for the football, which is hilarious after all these years when Vince fired him 10 years ago as an announcer, and now Vince called him back, and Vince is paying through the nose to get Jesse.
Oh, yeah.
They asked Jesse, I guess it was yesterday, they asked him like how much he was making, and Jesse said, it's nobody's business. So it's enough that he'd get heat for it, for that answer.
Oh, my God, he's the governor? I love that.
Jesse. How'd you like working with Jesse?
I loved it. Let me tell you something. I've never voted in my life, but if Jesse wants to run for president, I will go and I will vote.
You've got to smack down your vote.
I would only smack down if Jesse would run, because he used to always talk about politics and stuff like that. And I have a very good line, but it's going in my book, and I'm not gonna stooge it off here because it's kind of dirty too, and I'm sure I don't want to get in trouble, but I really like Jesse. I think he's smart, and I think it was the most awesome thing that he became the governor of Minnesota, because now I can at least say I know a governor.
I guess I can too, but I know a governor. I know a governor doesn't like me.
Oh, he doesn't like you?
Oh, no, not at all.
Oh. I think you have more enemies than me, Dave. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I think I do.
Okay.
Realistically. I mean, because I think that your enemies kind of went away. Minus. I don't know. You know,
pissing people off each and every week.
I am, but you know what? It's not like it was. It's not like it was 15 years ago. That kind of enemy stuff. I mean, that whole thing's died.
Like, beat you up and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember you used to call me up, like, when there'd be like a card coming to the area, and you'd go, stay away from this person and this person. I remember one time you called me up and go, I'm serious, Dave, I'm serious. I don't want to mention the guy's name, especially since he's going to be on the show in the next 2 weeks. Maybe when he comes on, I'll bring it up. But I remember one time you called me up, and it was just like, no, I'm serious, because it was like one of Eddie's friends. It was just like, stay away from this guy. Promise me you're going to stay away from him. And I go, okay, yeah, I will.
Just worried about you.
Yeah.
No, they take that stuff serious.
Yeah.
Who was the one that wanted to beat up Mark Madden so bad? Oh, Bruno Sammartino?
Bruno Sammartino or Ole Anderson, maybe Bill Watts. Jim
people did he not?
Actually, Cornette probably more than anyone.
That's who it was. It was Cornette.
Yeah, Cornette. The two ones he hates are Mark Madden and Vince Russo.
Right. Oh, God.
Yeah. I think Russo more than Madden right now, though.
Oh, okay. At least he's gotten over the Madden stuff.
He doesn't get over anything.
Oh, really?
No, I don't really think so.
I learned from him. Cornette has this really bad problem when he goes through drive-thrus, like a Burger King and stuff like that. He'll scream at the people, that's taking the order. And he doesn't realize they can spit on your hamburgers and stuff. So I've always been nice. Ever since I found that out, I've gone out of my way to be nice to those people that are making your food, because they can do some really, they can drop your hamburger on the floor and serve it to you.
Yeah.
See?
Jim is like the greatest guy, but he's got a temper.
I know.
When he's got a temper, he's not the greatest guy. Luckily he and I have never had any problems as far as, but everyone knows the story. Bashing in cars with baseball bats, and that thing in like, what city were they in Knoxville, where he came in there and they got, that big mace thing with the baseball bats.
Right, yeah.
Oh my God.
That's some crazy stuff. And
yeah.
I guess who I saw like a couple months ago? Sweet Stan Lane.
We had him on the show. He was awesome on the show.
Let me tell you something. He looks better now than he ever did in wrestling.
Really?
Yes. He's.
Where did you bump into him at?
He was up here. They were doing that ESPN2, the boat racing.
Oh, because he's in boat racing now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's pretty fun. He's pretty funny and everything like that. Real funny. We saw him at the he worked for Cornette at the Louisville show when they did like a Louisville reunion thing, for all the old USWA guys. What was your favorite territory to work? I mean, forget about money, just most fun.
World class.
World class at the beginning?
Yeah, world class.
Any reason why?
Maybe it's because it was short trips and things like that, but I think it's because I was just starting out and it was new and everything. It was like I was still like the little kid getting to be in the circus. And it wasn't a business to me. I mean, I would have done it for like, $25 a night because I loved it. But I think when it started to become a business to me and a job, that's when I was like, ugh. Now,
you were a fan. When did you start being a fan? Because you were a fan long before you got in the business, right?
No, I didn't see. I mean, I grew up in Florida, and I knew, who Dusty Rhodes was, of course, because you can't grow up in Florida not knowing who he was. But I didn't really watch wrestling until one night I was coming upstairs, and my dad was flipping channels, and I remember this vividly because I was like, I saw the Freebirds on TV, and they were putting a baby bonnet on Terry Gordy's head.
So that's Georgia Championship Wrestling, because I remember
Championship Wrestling on CBS, and I was like 17 years old. And I remember I made my dad stop the TV, and I sat down and watched it, and I fell in love, and I was like, oh, my God, this stuff is so fun. And that's when I became a fan and started watching them.
So that's, I'm guessing, 80-ish. Maybe you said, right around 1980.
I think like 1981, maybe?
Maybe 81, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like 81.
And you started in, like, what, wrestling 85?
In 85.
Yeah. So now, when you first, again, going to Dallas, so you were in Dallas with John Tatum at that point.
Right.
And Sunshine just didn't have an opponent?
Yeah, she was they switched her babyface and stuff, and she really was just kind of not doing anything, because if you're a babyface and you don't have a heel to work with, you're just kind of like out there.
Yeah.
So, and it was David Manning's idea to hire me. But what happened was really is that I had heard probably in your no, it wasn't your street sheet because I hadn't read it yet, but somehow I'd heard that WWF wanted a girl, so I'd sent him pictures, and George Scott had called me, and this is when I was living in Dallas. And I think John Tatum told, like, Rick Hazard and David Manning that George Scott called me and I'm going to go up there and work, and it was for a ballet for Randy Savage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then they ended up and got his wife. Well, now I know why he got his wife, because he wanted 2 paychecks, because I heard he's really, really cheap, so. But he got his wife to do it instead. But they had called me because I had sent my pictures up there. And so I think that's one of the things that they said, hey, we'll get her to work here.
Wow. Now, did you ever do any like modeling stuff before then, or no?
A little bit. I did some calendars and things like that, but nothing really.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing really. I'd signed up for college, as a matter of fact, when I was out in Texas, and never went because I'd started in wrestling, so I didn't get to go.
So you're making up for it now.
Yeah, making up for it now.
So now, what are you basically studying right now?
Well, I'm a psychology major, and I have a year to go. And then, I was a med tech, and then I was a biology major, and then just like totally freaked out. Math is my worst point. So I got into psychology because I thought, I won't have any math. I didn't know I had to do 3 semesters of statistics, which is like the same thing, just about. But I don't know. I graduate next December, and I don't know what I want to do when I graduate. I don't know. Maybe go to law school. I don't know.
Wow.
Yep.
That's interesting. You talked to Kim Ward at all?
No, I haven't in a long time.
Oh, okay. I just talked to him a couple days ago, actually.
Oh, okay. How's he doing?
Yeah. He's doing pretty good. The Bengals stink. So it's tough for him.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. What's just think as far as I can't really think of any of the other things as far as going on. What as far as like with Eddie Gilbert and everything, is there anything like in hindsight you want to say about him?
I just think that I know that if he would have been like 2 inches taller, he could have been a world champion. Because he was that smart, he was a great talker, and he was a great worker. And, he grew up in a wrestling family. And I don't think he ever got to use his smartness, like for the booking and everything like that he could have. I just don't think he was ever in the right place at the right time to get to do that.
Well, everything was always so volatile.
Yeah, and I just think it's a shame because there's so many people out there that have such great talent and they just don't get that break. And it's these other people that get the break. I mean, but I'm sure that's like that in everything. I'm sure there's like a zillion great actors out in Hollywood that never get that, big break. But
no, it's even like wrestlers. I mean, there are guys that are really good that we know are really good that, just aren't in the right place at the right time.
Right. And
then some guys were just lucky.
Right.
They're just lucky, and then they make it. You know what I mean? It's like Rena Mero. I mean, nothing against her, but she was very lucky to be in the right place at the right time during the right wrestling boom.
Let me tell you something. That girl, if I would have had a quarter of her television time, or getting over like her, I would have been like out of my mind. It would have been the most exciting and happy. I mean, I would have been. It would have been so crazy. I mean, she just doesn't know how lucky she had it. I mean, I don't really think she does, because I don't think really wrestling was that important to her. So and she doesn't really know a lot about the business. So I don't think she really realizes what she had, what she let go.
I think she might now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe now.
She's been gone because like her star is down and no one really. It's amazing. I don't think that. We all knew it was going to happen, but I don't think she had any clue. Was that when she left that TV? She went from being major celebrity to nobody. It was going to happen in like 6 months, and I think that she didn't realize with all that adulation she had when she left that was the inevitability of what was going to happen. Wrestling fans, they're going to move on to something new.
Right. I mean, maybe she thought that she could go and do acting. If she would have been a good actress, maybe she could have. Didn't she try to do a television show?
Yeah, I don't think it ever really got off the ground. I mean, she's done things, but nothing that's ever really amounted to anything.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. You got to have talent to back it up, But to be in wrestling, it's just like being in the right place at the right time. She just doesn't know. Maybe now she knows how lucky she was. Because
I think also with her, what hurt her was that when it was, when it was over, she actually got a tremendous amount of publicity leaving the WWF. But what happened is she did all those talk shows, and she just really didn't have it. I mean, I remember seeing on those talk shows, and it's like, oh, my God, there's nothing there. And I think that probably killed her. That killed her off pretty quick. If she, had a dynamic personality, she still may have run up. But, I mean, at least she would have had more of a chance.
Yeah, but you know what? She does Playboy, and Playboy usually, sometimes it can really boost a person's career. I mean, sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes it does. But like you said, you got to be able to talk and back it up.
Well, I think Playboy took her to another level, especially since she sold so many issues.
Yeah.
But then by leaving WWF, it was kind of like, when she left WWF, that was kind of it.
Right. Plus, she didn't get her name anymore.
Yeah.
That thing can hurt you right there.
Okay. Missy, we got to go. We're totally out of time right now. I want to thank you very much for doing the show.
Anytime, Dave. Anytime. Thank you for having me on.
Okay, and as the book comes, make sure to let us know and everything, because I want to read the book.
I'm definitely sending you one of the first copies off the press.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. Good luck.
Thank you. Bye.